New York City just isn't the same as it used to be.
You know, they used to let you have sex with the cab drivers? Yeah. Now there's all this Uber and Lyft nonsense. What a ruse.
Nobody wore a watch, no. If you wanted to know the time, you could go to Times Square and ask a stranger to punch you in the mouth.
You know, in the 90s, the show Friends was so popular, you didn't have to remember anyone's name. God, no. All the women answered to Rachel and all the men answered to Friend. If you wanted heroin back in the day, you just had to ask. I don't know, I guess I just longed for the old days. There was more zest, there was more spice. There was so much spice we were inventing spices. Like, what in God's name is paprika? We didn't care.
New York City just isn't the same as it used to be. Sure, the streets were still lined with hot garbage, but it had a different je ne sais quoi. You know, if someone threw out an old mattress, it was perfectly normal to lay your pretty little head down and take a snooze. The days were long. You deserve a rest. We all did.
You know, there weren't many homeless people, but even those that were homeless could at least speak French. But alas, that culture no longer exists. You know, it used to be okay for the kids to play in the sewers. That is until the rats learned karate and decided to teach it to any turtle with a mutation. Back in the day, we didn't lock our doors. What were they gonna do, take our kids? Who wants that responsibility? There was no brick and mortar halal, guys. If you wanted Mediterranean, you go clubbing in the Lower East Side, if you know what I mean.
You didn't have to show up to work on Monday. As long as you were still out partying from Sunday, it was still the weekend. Everyone understood that.
You know, you didn't have to work. You could just let a construction worker sexually harass you and then sue him for a year's salary. For an entire decade, no women went to work and the tallest, most beautiful skyscrapers were built.
Your barber wasn't just your barber. They were also your friend. And probably involved in organized crime.
New York City just isn't the same as it used to be. The lights just shine brighter. And we spent hours staring directly into them.
We had crime, sure. But it was the fun kind of crime. You know, sociopaths more after chaos than riches. You know, guys with half a face, guys who look like a penguin, guys who like riddles too much. You know, investment bankers.
You didn't have to use Tinder to find a man. Men, real men, would find you. They'd come to your house in the middle of the night and they would take you, and then you were theirs. But sure, keep playing your little phone games while romance dies. You know, the streets actually were paved with gold. That was an accident, though. In the 80s, a report came out that said cement was actually more valuable than gold, so they started filling potholes with gold. Sure, when this came out to be false, everyone took to the streets with shovels. It was a record high year for potholes. But stock in gold skyrocketed, so we partied, baby.
The city never slept. If you were sleeping, you were missing out. And if you were missing out, then who was going to do your share of the drugs? Now we all have a problem.
Plain and simple, there was more sex. Everyone was doing it with everyone. And they weren't shy about it either. People were doing it in public. You know, private sex was just for two things: masturbation and mistresses. The music was loud, sure, but the gossip was louder. That's why most bands started making their music into gossip. Ever hear Jesse's Girl? That's some hot gossip. But you didn't hear it from me. You know, the subways were actually free. Ironically, it cost a pretty penny to get defecated on. It's all backwards now. New York City just isn't the same as it used to be.
Yeah!